Hello, my beautiful people. Welcome to your life path reading for 2022. Can you believe we are here already? So before we get into it, this first part of the reading is always, it's an overview. So what we're going to be looking at is 2022 as a 6 year. This is really important context because it's going to tell you how the year is likely to go in its trends, its themes, the energies that we're likely to experience. And that provides an important context and a backdrop for how we're all going to be experiencing this in, or rather, through the context of the universal year. But more importantly, how that energy is going to play out for us really speaks to how we experience our personal year. So that in itself as well is just as important. I will put a link for those personal year videos in the I'll put one in the description, and I'll put one on the little thing floating above my head so that you can get even more into it. But like I said, this part, don't skip it. It's really important that you get an idea of what we're going to be dealing with. And I will be going very in depth this time round. So let's get straight into it. So 2022 is a 6 year, as you now know. 6 is actually the number that is ruled by Venus. So we can definitely say that 2022 is going to be a much easier, a much slower paced year. It's going to be a much calmer year. What I will say as well, 2021 saw us, we kind of experienced a lot of change, right? A lot of upheaval, lots of sharp turns, lots of twists and turns, lots of surprises. It did see a lot of advances in technology, which I talked about. It did see a lot of advances in cryptocurrency, which I talked about in the 2020 videos, right? In the videos for 2021. So it's great to see that this kind of tracks. Now, in terms of the universal year being the number 6, it is tended towards like a slower pace. It's more focused, it's more connected. It's a lot less erratic as well, which is great for all of us, especially those of us that are already naturally a little bit erratic. It's going to be a year that is directed more towards altruism, a year that's directed more to support, to connection, to balance, harmony. It's definitely going to be a year where people really start to consider their own personal impact on things. So we're going to see this energy of accountability is going to start to become a really big or really powerful theme throughout 2022. Now, that accountability isn't just going to be for us on the microcosmic level. It's going to be for all of us on the macrocosmic level as well. So this is going to be about governments. This is going to be about people that are in charge, people that are heads of companies, heads of state, etc. There's going to be a lot more of people expecting others to be accountable for their actions and, more importantly, for their impact on the wider world. So as always, I've got my trusty notes here. So if I'm looking away, that's where I am. All right. So in a way, the buzzword for this number 6 year is responsibility. It's one of the biggest words that comes up for the energy of the number 6, right? So it's going to come sharply into focus for all of us in some way, shape or form. Who are we responsible for? Who are we responsible to? And more importantly, how do we meet those requirements? How is it that we really show up for what and who we are responsible for? And how do we play our part, right? Whether for the good or for the ill, as they say. So some of the considerations that are going to come up with this year, and these are definitely not, like, it's not just limited to the things that I mentioned. You'll see many trends and themes evolve over the year, but these are the ones that I've really honed in on because I kind of feel like these are going to be like they're going to be like the structure or the skeleton of the year that really kind of shows people, right, okay, this is where we're at. So domestic life, when it comes to your home, its contents, everybody that lives within, so people that you live with or, people that you want to live with. How can you get the most out of your home? How can you improve your home? There's going to be a lot of decorating, interior design is really going to take off this year or become a lot more prominent. People, doing more development on their homes. So that whole thing about construction of new homes, definitely going to be a theme throughout this year. The materials that we need in order to construct homes is also going to be a challenge over the course of this year. It's a continuation in a sense, yes, but these things are really going to be highlighted. How can you make your home look and feel better for yourself or for the people that are dwelling inside with you? what can you do to make your home a sanctuary, right? Because your house is what keeps you safe from the elements. It's what helps you shut the world outside out when you need to. It's supposed to be a sanctuary. Supposed to be warm, you know, to be a place where all of your needs can be met regardless of what's happening. And I think a lot of people are really going to tap into that this year. Home, the hearth, the family, familial ties and connections, whether these are familial ties and connections that you choose or whether they're familial ties and connections that you're born to, is kind of going to be irrelevant this year. It's going to be all about how do we connect? How do we, you know, bring more of that connection in? These things are going to be more important than ever, so I do feel like those things will definitely expand. So on the wider world stage, this is likely to translate to a housing crisis. It might also be that we start to get more conscious of how can we eliminate the problem of homelessness. We might see a big drive towards how we can start to improve, you know, living life for people. It's ridiculous. It's just, sorry, excuse my language, but it's effing ridiculous that in 2022 we still have homeless people. It's just unfathomable. It just doesn't make any sense. It's ridiculous. Okay, rant over. Reining it in. All right, so this whole thing about, again, right, this disparity between wealth and, you know, the super wealthy and all the rest of it. Not only are we going to see more of a divide, but we're going to start to see more calls to action to shrinking that divide, to making things more equal, to making things more balanced. Remember, this number is ruled by Venus. Venus is all about balance. It's all about harmony. It's all about smoothing off the rough edges. So it's probably going to see us highlighting what we can do for those that are homeless in some way, shape or form. So another thing that I've got here as well is cleanliness. So I believe that over the course of this year, we're going to see a much more, we're going to be more focused on cleanliness, and how that can be a part of our daily routines, which I find this really interesting as well, because in ancient astrology, Demetra George writes in one of her books that one of the things that is assigned to Aquarius is cleanliness, right? Which is really interesting to me because Saturn, the ruler of Aquarius, is in the sign of Aquarius. So I found that really interesting that as soon as we had this, yes, we had the pandemic and the shutdown and the lockdown and stuff, but we also had this really, you know, powerful, stringent drive towards being more clean. Now, what I will say is what I've got here is, what is clean? How do we clean? And I think this is going to see a lot of developments on the wider world stage on how we can cleanse or clean our lives, our homes and our bodies, but in ways that aren't toxic to us or the environment. So there's going to be a lot of developments on how we can work in harmony or in tandem with nature rather than fighting with it in some way, which I think is great, right? So we're probably going to see new technologies and things developed when it comes to cleanliness. I think this is going to have a lot to do with sound and frequency. I've got this really, you know, powerful hit when I was doing all of the research for this year, that these are going to be some of the ways that we really tap into this idea of cleansing ourselves, cleansing our space, cleansing our body. And remember, everything at the end of the day is vibration and frequency. So I think we're going to see a lot to do with developments on that front. We'll definitely be paying more attention to our oceans, our seas, our rivers and our lakes. There's going to be big focus on how to clean up our water supply, because if we don't have water, it don't matter how rich, what your status, where you're from, if you ain't got water, you ain't got life. Period, right? Clean water is a necessity for everybody. So there's going to be more money and attention placed on the vital waters of life. I definitely believe that. That being said, new developments in blood cleansing and vaccinations. I definitely feel 2026 is where we're going to see a massive advancement towards a cure or a vaccine for HIV and various other illnesses as well. So when it comes to healing, we're definitely going to see a big focus on this as well. A lot of the new age methods will start to really gain prominence. Now, when I say new age, what I actually mean is ancient ways of healing. herbalism, medical astrology, sound, frequency, vibration, all of those things, energy healing. We're going to see all of these things really start to come to the fore. Natural, non-toxic, non-invasive ways of healing are going to really prevail over this year. And here's the beauty of it. I don't think that this is going to pit us at odds with the medical tradition. I actually feel like we're going to start to see a dovetail. This is where we're going to start to see how can we fuse these things? How can we really find ways to integrate the two, which will be brilliant. I definitely think we're going to see an expansion of such things. Sound healing, frequency, vibrational healing will definitely come to the fore. I also think that medical science is definitely going to advance this year. Like, I really believe that. But as a result, I think we're going to see more and more of a crossover between the two. If not a global level, then at least at a grassroots level. And that grassroots level of everything is going to be very important this year, because we're going to see a lot more of that. All right, we're going to start to see less of the we're going to start to see it more on the microcosmic level, let's say. Herbalism, definitely going to be a revival. Green get together and more group healing work as well is definitely going to start to expand. So when we talk about spiritual progression, to be spiritual is to be organized and in harmony with all that surrounds you and all that you encounter. So just like its upside down counterpart, the number 6 has a natural draw towards leaving the world and people better than you find them, right? 6 is actually the number that is all about responsibility and service. It's the energy of the agony aunt or the healer or the mystic or the maintenance or the caregiver, right? So it's all about leaving things and people or even environments better than you find them. We're going to see a lot of this year and a lot of drive towards that. This energy as well can be known as the fixer energy. So it takes problems, challenges and issues, and it will lovingly and painstakingly work on them until they're dissipated or, removed altogether. It's actually a very spiritual number in that sort of sense. And because, the highest form of spirituality is to be of service to the universe in some way, shape or form. I truly believe that. Now, this is, it's what I've put here is it's the cleansing ritual before the magic and the enchantment of the year 7, 2023 kicks in, right? So for those of you that are into this kind of thing, 6 is the year of the clearing and the cleansing of the space before you set your enchantment or your intention forth in the 7 or the spiritual sphere, all right? So it's an important aspect or a part of this that people often overlook, right? So remember, all steps are important in the process of manifesting something. You can't leave one out, and that means not leaving out the cleansing stage as well. All right, so on the wider world stage, we're definitely going to see more care towards service providers, healthcare workers and professionals, people that actually showed up for us when it really bleeping mattered. Like, we're going to see a lot more kindness and courtesy towards those people, if not from, the oligarchs and all of the hierarchical stuff, certainly from the people on the ground below. All right, so support and connection. This is a very supportive energy. It's very connective. 6 has that natural pull, that natural draw towards harmonizing things, bridging the gaps between things that maybe don't have any connection and finding a way to create one. It means as well taking form from one thing to give to another. So this may very well see, so 2020 and 2021 we saw a lot of wealth transference from the majority of the people to the minority of the people. 2022 is going to start to see the opposite. It's the way that universal law works, right? You can't have something that is unbalanced. The universe doesn't like it, just like it doesn't like a vacuum, right? So it's very, very interesting to see how this will come out. This divide between the wealthy and the poor, we're definitely going to see more of a spotlight on it. If it goes ignored, there will be a lot of noise and a relentless drive towards making it better for everybody as opposed to just a certain few. So let that be a universal warning to those those that are in charge. Don't shoot the messenger, I'm just a vessel. This will definitely be the starting of the community living. So lots of people have talked about this, and we know it's coming through in the astrology as well. 2022 is where we're really going to see this stuff start to happen. It's actually going to become a reality. We're going to see communities popping up left, right and center. People will be demanding more connection, more community, more sense of pulling together. If they don't get it, and it's not present in the world, then they'll just create it themselves. It will literally just be that, like, okay, well, what we want and what we need isn't being provided, so we'll do it our damn selves. And once we've done that, there's not going to be any standing in our way because we declare our own, right? So, you know, I love it. It will definitely be more about people coming together and living together as well. More sharing, more caring is the name on is the name and the number of Venus. Beauty and romance. So while this number is very practical, it's also very Venusian in a sense. It does appreciate anything and everything natural. We're going to see a draw towards more sort of neutral colors, lots more pastel colors, things that are a lot more things that are a lot more pleasing to the eyes, things that are lighter, brighter and more caring. So 2021 was a lot about sort of, you know, what was really in your face and really bold and really deep and all the rest of it, whereas 2022 is going to be a lot more sort of smoother. So I've put here pastels in greens, yellows and blues. Gentle color palettes are definitely going to be way more favorable, as will gentle makeups, anything that is natural, that's kind to the skin, that's kind to the environment, that's easy to make without destroying the environment. All of this going to be to the fore. Startups that promise to be you know, kind to the environment, or to offer more in the way of you know, kindness to flora and fauna will definitely come up over the course of this year for sure. Also, the demand for more greenery, the demand for more natural feel to things, for more open spaces, more room for animals, more connection to, with and for nature is going to be to the forefront. And again, if we don't get it, people will just start to create it. People are definitely going to start walking away from cities, anywhere that's too built up, where you're living on top of each other like, you know, sardines and stuff. It's just not the way of it anymore. People want more space, more openness and more freedom where they can gather more together. And, you know, again, if they don't get it, they'll just make it themselves. They want clean, fresh, natural, open spaces that have a community or communal feel to it. There's a need or a call for more. That's where the money's going to be flowing as well. So if you're thinking about starting a business, think about all of the things that I've mentioned are going to come up over the course of this year, because this is just the seeding of it. It's not like, oh, here it's 2022 and that's all that's going to be, and, you know, then it's done. This is like literally, that's, you know, this is the chance really for you to get ahead of the next gold rush, I guess. All right, so what people will be interested in. People are going to be interested in things and people that roll up their sleeves and get stuck in and help others. The beauty is in the dirt, in the mud, in the sweat, in the beauty, in the fucking crotch of everything that you are, right? This is about getting stuck into things with the deepest aspects of yourself. It's not about surface stuff. It's about coming together. It's about really being accountable and responsible, and, you know, thinking about other people rather than just yourself. Those are going to be the things that are sexy this year. That's going to be the stuff that really gets people fired up. The elements and how they affect and change us: rain on the skin, air in the lungs, grass under your toes and in between your toes, and sand in your toes. I get really excited because I'm a hobbit at heart. You know, give me a tree to put my back to, a book, maybe some music, don't necessarily need it, and you know, a wide open expanse with my toes in the grass. You got me for life. I'm happy. I don't need much. All right, we'll definitely see a lot of kickback between companies and their workers. Why? 6 is the number of the home and the hearth. And as I said to you last year, this whole idea of going back to the office, a lot of people are just done with it. They're over it. They don't want it, right? And they will continue to kind of hold back from that. So a word to companies, etc. Think about ways that you can sort of maybe create a more blended feel where people can spend more time at home and some time in the office. Because if you try to just get them to come back to this whole 9 to 5 in the grind thing, it's just not going to work. It's already started falling apart. All right, people want comfort, connection, community, and ease. That's got more weight than the high-powered career this year, right? 6 is bringing a reckoning. It really is. Okay, so Jupiter falling or moving into the sign of Pisces is directly feeding into all of this. So Jupiter is the great magnifier, the great expander, the great lord of abundance and growth, children and spiritual law. So I've said this before and I will definitely say it again. I think we're going to see a massive drive to, not drive towards, but I think we're going to see a lot of babies born in 2022 for sure. The big man of kings and universal law is what I've put here. All of it sounds wonderful for the most part, and it is. But consider this, Pisces is the 12th sign. It's a placement of a lot of politics and people that are in politics, which means we might see as well, I think we're going to see a few meteoric rises of certain politicians or people that kind of seem to come out of nowhere and all of a sudden find themselves, you know, at the top with lots of followers or really, you know, standing out in their message or in their speech. If they meet the needs and the wants and the will of the people, they will survive. If not, it will be a collective thumbs down. It's going to be more and more that the will of the people starts to rule from here on in. So again, let that be a message to those of you that are in charge. So Pisces is all things and no thing at once. It's got no boundaries. It's a double-bodied water sign. As such, it's got no boundaries, and it means that we do have quite a lot to consider in this sense, because if Jupiter expands things and Pisces has no boundaries, this is like literally an expansion of that boundlessness. So this is something to consider. It's also going to be, I talked about the huge wave of babies that might be coming in from here on in. We now see a dissolving of certain ideas and also places. The European Union might start to crumble or dissolve. Not saying it will, but just an idea. Borders between countries may also start to come down, or the lines may get very blurred. Neptune's already in Pisces, so we're going to see a lot of legalized drugs this year. And maybe in places where they haven't been before, or maybe places where it's been a little bit more taboo, etc. I think we're definitely going to see a drop in the crime rate, which I talked about in, if any of you purchased my 2022 videos, I talked a lot about this for 2022 in those. So if you've seen the sign videos, then you know I talked about this. Whatever has been hidden will come to light in powerful ways. And then finally, as Jupiter is the ruler of spiritual law, we're going to see more than a few cases of miracles, but it's also going to be vital to have your wits about you, right? It's important that you don't allow yourself to be hoodwinked this year, because there are going to be a few rises of gurus, etc. And as we drive towards more people cultivating a need for spirituality, especially as we get to 2023, it's going to be important to use your own discernment, especially for some of the stuff that we see, because we might see some weird stuff in 2022 still. You know, just be aware that that is the case. Now, I have said to everybody, building a solid spiritual practice for 2022 is going to be vital, because that spiritual practice and that spiritual work that you do in 2022 is going to offer you the life raft or the rope to get you through the murky weirdness that is going to be 2023. I make no bones about saying this, right? For those of you that have seen the webinar that I did with Heather from Astrology with Heather, we talked about the next 5 years from 2020 right through to 2025. It's going to be an interesting time for sure, but 2023 was the year that really stood out to me as being like, okay, yeah, this is going to be a really weird year, right? We're going to see some odd stuff 2022, but it will be the real weird sort of murky what the hell is going on. That will be 2023. So finally, energy medicine, witchcraft, occult things, astrology, numerology, tarot, human design, all of these systems are going to be more in demand than ever. We might see some kickback from them. Integrity is going to be everything. Those tarot readers, astrologers, numerologists, human design readers, witches, all the rest of it. The ones that have integrity will be the ones that really do well this year. Remember, Jupiter's in its home sign of Pisces. So while there'll be an expansion of these things, it will be the ones that have integrity, the ones that are on point, the ones that are not charlatans, basically, that will be the ones that continue to grow, whereas everybody else will kind of fall to the wayside. And then finally, let me be clear, the age of the guru, while coming to an end, will be going out with a bang. All right, so you're going to have to see this. And I do feel that we're going to see a lot of, not a lot of, but certainly some of the bigger ones will be taking a tumble because the smoke and mirrors energy just not going to cut it this year. All in all, I think this can be a very beautiful year, maybe one that is a little bit excessive, possibly even a little bit pedantic in its energies. Remember, it is Venus ruled, so maybe the dark side is that people just want more luxury because they've been denied so many things. But it is going to be lighter, it is going to be brighter, it is going to be easier, more down to earth, and certainly better than anything we've experienced over the course of the last 3 years. With that said, stick around and we will get into your life path reading for 2022. Thank you so much. Take care and I'll see you soon. My decks of cards with all forms of love, light, peace, prosperity and abundance, and I pray that the messages that come through are ultimately clear and concise and they help you on your path to your highest vibrational good. So what we're going to look at here is, yes, your 12-month breakdown, but before we get into that, I want to talk about the way that your personal life, so your life path number is going to interact with the energy of the year ahead. I want to talk about how that might show up for you and what kind of energies, trends and themes you might experience. And then for those of you that don't know, you will also have a personal year number. So what I want you to do is check out the link that's floating above my head. There's a link in the description that will take you to a video that will show you how to calculate your personal year number. And on top of that, there's another link in the description box below, which will show you will take you to the playlist of all of the personal year videos so that you can get even more deeper insight. So we're looking at the way that patterns and cycles intersect and coincide, right? All right, so this year for the Life Path 7, what I've got to say to you is, so interestingly enough, I have to mention this. Before I start a video, I always shuffle my cards and then obviously I shuffle them on camera as well. So there's always I always like to make sure that my cards are jumbled up, like they're ready for and they're clear for the next person or life path that I read for. Now, when I was doing that, one card jumped out and that card was the Knight of Pentacles, which tells me that this is a year of slow, steady, sustained growth for you. Now, what you need to know is, this is a year for you to knuckle down. It's going to be a year of hard work, especially for those of you that are in a personal year 1, 4, 7 and 8. This is going to be a year where you really do need to get stuck in. Now, things that you also need to know, do not cut any corners this year, right? You may be tempted to. You might be able to see like, oh, well, you know, if I do this like this, I can, you know, it'll be a lot quicker, it'll be a lot easier. Don't cut corners, right? Just don't do it to yourself because the chances are you'll have to go back to the beginning and start again. This year could wind up being a little bit, especially if you're having a personal year of the ones that I mentioned, this year could be a little bit like snakes and ladders, right? Where you think you're gaining something, you end up falling on a snake head and it's like, woo, straight back down to the end. So just be careful, all right? Do things right. Do it right the first time round. Like if you consider this year as a bit of a hard taskmaster year, you kind of get where I'm going with that. Make sure you stay in your integrity this year as well. It's going to be so important for you. And if you can manage to do that with finesse and grace and poise, all 6 energies, The rewards are absolutely going to be immense for you, all right? Give yourself this year, give yourself clear lines, clear goals, and clear boundaries, right? So when it comes to your goals, make sure that, right, this is a year, so this is the beauty of 7 energy. You guys are naturally very hardworking anyway, and you're extremely studious. One of the challenges that the 7 energy does seem to carry, though, is it's kind of like accumulation of knowledge for its own sake. Put a goal in place, like, you know what, it's not just a case of I want to know everything about this subject. Give yourself a why, give yourself a destination to arrive at so that you can start to see the progress that you're making. This year's energies, the way the 7 and the 6 are going to combine, you are going to need solid goals, right? So that you've got landmarks or milestones to meet, which is important. On top of that, when it comes to clear lines, this is a year for you to decide which side of the fence you're on. 7 tends to be a bit of a nebulous energy. It's got that Neptunian kind of feel to it, which is not a bad thing, right? In fact, it's a wonderful thing to remain fluid. This year, you may not have that luxury, and so it's important that you find ways to choose. Not because Raph says so, but just because the way that this energy will speak to you this year, you might need to take a side of some sort, right? If you're on no one side, you're on no one side but your own. And sometimes if you want to go far, you got to go with people, all right? So that's as much as I will say on that. And then finally, boundaries, right? 7 is kind of, because it's got that Neptunian energy, there are no boundaries. It's just kind of very, flowy in a lot of ways, because it's a very powerfully spiritual number. I got a lot of respect for Life Path 7 people, actually, because they tend to have been through quite a lot, and the way that they still present to people and to the world and is just this really sort of beautiful altruism, which is wonderful. But this year you need solid boundaries. When you mean no, say no. When you mean yes, say yes. When there's something that you want or that you expect, you have the right to demand it, all right? Don't obviously turn into a tyrant, but keep it within reason. All right, so create stretch goals for yourself. This would be a great year for you to say, right, okay, this would be the nice destination, but the great destination would be here. Find things that are going to stretch you and challenge you and take you out of your comfort zone this year. And if that means finding ways to interact with people a little bit more and get out of that hermit energy, then so be it. All right, you guys know who I'm talking to. All right, envision what comes next. This is a year for you to aim high, right? Especially for those of you in 4 years, especially for those of you in 1 year, 4 years, and 8 years. Not so much the 7. This will be a slightly different energy for those of you in a personal year 7. All right, now be prepared to work hard for little reward. And at the start of the year, probably for the first 6 months, that might just feel like a complete ball ache, right? In fact, I can sum this up for you in one movie scene. If you've seen the Devil Wears Prada, the first 6 months of this year can literally feel like that moment where, like she's at the job and she's just learning and it's just like relentless, and it's like, and then she has that moment where it's like, I know what I'm doing. Yes, my boss sucks, but it is what it is. That's going to be the first 6 months of this year. As you cross the threshold into the second half of the year, you'll start to see more in the way of results and rewards. Finally, be honest and be helpful, which you guys tend to be anyway. The thing that I really want you to be conscious of here, though, is being a team player. All right, very, very important. Excuse me, there's that characteristic energy shift. You'll be tempted to do the 7 thing this year, right? I can do this on my own, me, myself, and I, hermit, yada, yada, yada. No, you can't do that this year. You have to expand beyond yourself. And if you want to grow, as in really grow, you are going to have to invite other people in, or you're going to have to find ways. Not so much if you're in a 7 year, like if you're in a personal year 7, because it tends to be quite hermetic on its own. But even still, because of the way that these energies interact, you probably find that this year you are having to interact more than you realized, or maybe more than you expected. All right, so your blessings this year: staying power, depth. I mean, not that you need any more depth. Growth potential when it comes to your prosperity. Now, this is something that even for those of you that are experiencing personal year 7s, could be an interesting one. Tenacious, right? It's going to make you really tenacious. Not studious. There's a difference, right? All Life Path 7 people in some way, shape or form are the universal student and teacher. In some way, shape or form, you are always studious. There's a difference. This year can make you tenacious, which is great. Your lessons: stuck energy, rigid, could make you a little bit stubborn and possibly a little bit paranoid. So just, navigate, okay? All right, let's get into your 12-month breakdown. So your first card out, I kind of believe that the first card out sets the tone for the year. It kind of tells us what the characteristic of the year is likely to be, what we might expect. And your first card out is the Strength card. The Strength card is all about perseverance. Yes, it's about courage. Yes, it's about strength and determination, but it's really, truly at its core about perseverance. It's about taming how you feel to do what needs to be done, right? So this is one thing that I often say to a lot of my clients. It's not enough to be a good person. You've also got to be tough, and you've got to be tough enough to do what needs to be done, even if that's uncomfortable, all right? So for some of you, this whole year is going to be encapsulated by that. Now, when it comes to January, this is going to be a month where I kind of feel like straight out of the gate, as you get into 2022, you're going to be like hit with something and you're like, okay, this is what the year's going to be. And maybe there isn't any reward here, but you know what? It feels damn good to know that I succeeded regardless. That is the spirit of perseverance, and it's also the spirit of the Strength card. Finding that grit within you is going to be really important for this year. All right. Now, for your direction cards, you get one destiny card, one direction card per month for the year. You've got this with the Queen of Wands, right? So a Leo female or a Leo woman or a Leo person may feature for you this year, which is wonderful, right? So Aries, Leo, Sagittarius, Queen of Wands, coupled with the Strength card, Leo energy, a Leo woman could feature for you straight out of the gate here in January, right? So this could be somebody that gives you the challenge. This might be somebody that pushes your buttons. It might be somebody that pushes you to get more out of yourself than you realized you were possibly able to get out of yourself, right? This excuse me. It's not that I feel like this person is a hindrance to you. It's more, I kind of feel like they're an ally to you because they push you in the right way. They give you the right challenge. They give you the right get up and go to say, okay, you know what? Fine. I will find another way. I'll push through this. I'll persevere. The other thing with the Queen of Wands that I often say, this is about having to reaffirm a boundary. And because it falls on the Strength card, I have this feeling this could be with a partner, a loved one, a husband, boyfriend, girlfriend, wife. This could be with a family member. It's like you're having to draw a line in the sand with someone in January, like straight out of the gate. And you might have really deep love for this person. Strength card, all about the heart. It's Leo ruled. This might be somebody that you really care about, but you're like, you know what they're doing is wrong, and I need to tell them that they're wrong. Sometimes that can be really hard. When you really love somebody, you care about them. Maybe it's a parent, maybe it's a child, maybe it's a spouse, but at the same time, none of us are here to be doormats. And this is what I say, spiritual does not equal doormat, right? Holding your boundaries is also very spiritual. And it looks like you're having to do that in January straight out of the gate. Having the heart and the guts to do what needs to be done, to be a good person, but to be tough, all right? For February, you have the Faith card. So in this deck, it's called Faith, but this is actually the Hierophant card. This could be a time where you are either building a new faith. Maybe you're starting to look at your belief structure. Maybe you're starting to look at your spiritual structure. You know, some people are spiritual, they're not religious. Some people are religious, they're not spiritual. This could be a time where you're really starting to pay attention to your own dogmatic cycles and patterns. It could just as easily be a time where you're starting to see that maybe some of the beliefs that you have aren't standing up to the things that you need to meet head on. Maybe in light of whatever's taking place in January, you decide, actually, you know what? I've done this for far too long. This cycle, this pattern, this ritual that I go through, it's done, right? It's seen its course and it's no longer giving fruit. And this comes up with the Page of Cups, right? So that's actually really nice. Now, for some of you, the word that I'm hearing in my mind is pious. You could discover some sort of personal piety, right? And when we talk about pious, it's, you know, finding that not only the humility, but finding the true sense of spirituality on the deeper level. So for some of you, it might look like you streamline your belief system more in line with what your heart actually says to you. For a select few of you, because the Hierophant card can also be, you know, traditional commitment like marriage. Maybe for some of you, you are watching a child excuse me, or a sibling or even a cousin get married. You know, maybe somebody is doing that. The one thing that does come up here as well, I would not be surprised if some of you hear that somebody is going to join the clergy. Somebody's going to become a priest, and it doesn't have to be like, you know, in the Catholic Church or the Christian Church. Maybe they decide to become a high priestess. Maybe they decide to become, you know, a fully fledged whatever it is that they believe. I wouldn't be surprised if somebody takes a very spiritual turn here. If it's not you, then it will be somebody that's very close to you. And then finally, February might also be a time where you are creating some sort of art, literature, something that has a very spiritual sort of informity about it. It's for a lot of you, this could be a great time actually, especially given that 7 is already a very spiritual energy anyway. For March, you have the Hanged Man. So this whole first quarter of the year is very much about your internal life, right? I wouldn't expect any less. What I can tell you is this first quarter of the year also does appear to be building a solid foundation for you in some regard. Now, the fact that you've got the Hanged Man for March, this is a deeply spiritual card, but it's also a card that shows us where we are giving too much, where we are martyring ourselves for something or someone, right? So the signature for Pisces season is here, and you've got this with the Ace of Swords, right? So for some of you, this could be where you cut someone or something off or out, right? So one way that this could show up, let's say every month you give your child or your wife or your husband an allowance. Let's say every month you send money home to a family member or whatever. This could be a month where you say to yourself, I can't do this anymore. You know, maybe it's not because you're in financial difficulty, but maybe it's because you realize it's gone too far. For some of you, this could also be a time where you are either signing a contract or you're having an interview. One thing that I do want to say to you though with this, be very, very conscious that you may not be getting all of the facts at this moment in time, because it's on the Hanged Man, which is a nebulous energy anyway. This could be a time where maybe you go for a job interview, maybe something is offered to you and it seems really solid, but there are a whole load of strings or caveats attached to it that you are as yet unaware of. That really feels quite potent to me as well. I don't know why. It's just like whatever contracts come up for you, whatever interviews come up for you around March, please just be very, very conscious or careful. Now, as we come into April, you've got the first of the eclipses. So this is the first eclipse season of the year. You've got the Taurus solar eclipse on April the 30th. So remember, what you're initiating or starting or beginning here will culminate or complete or fully express around here in November. Totally forgot to mention as well, Mercury will go retrograde in the sign of Aquarius and come back into the sign of Capricorn in January. And then on top of that, your Venus will be retrograde right the way through until the 29th of January. All right. So April, you got the Tree of Life card. I love this card because for me, the message that I've condensed it down to is divine intervention and assistance, right? And eclipses are wild card energy anyway. So this kind of feels like this is finger of fate, hand of God sort of stuff. And I really like that for you guys because it suggests that the eclipse is going to bring you something that you can really need. It could also suggest that you are put in the right place at the right time. Very similar to the Wheel of Fortune. Comes up with the King of Cups. So this is likely to be somebody that you're meeting around this time. A Pisces, Cancer or Scorpio male may feature for you, or person may show up for you. This could also be, for some of you, a counselor, a therapist, a healer of some sort shows up for you. My money is on this person being a guru of sorts, right? So maybe they show up and you think, you know what, I want a reading with this person, or I want a counseling session with this person. It's like whatever they show up as, they end up staying as something else, right? So maybe they come into your life as a friend and you realize that actually this person is a therapist. Maybe they come into your life as a therapist and then you realize, actually, you know what, now that I've finished my course of treatment or, you know, therapy or whatever with this person, or healing sessions, etc., I now actually just want to spend time with this person for other reasons. So this is a really, really interesting time. And I've got to say, because they show up under the energy of an eclipse and because they show up on top of the Wheel of Fortune, the Tree of Life card, this is somebody that's supposed to be, excuse me, there's that energy shift. This is somebody that's supposed to be in your life, certainly for now, right? Well, certainly for the next 6 months at least. And what they become after that, you know, only you guys will be able to decide. So May, you have the Star card. We've got the second Mercury retrograde in May that will come out of the sign of Gemini back into the sign of Taurus. We also have the second eclipse to close out the first eclipse season on May the 16th, which will be a Scorpio lunar eclipse. Star card, right? This could be, pay attention to whatever's happening in the digital sphere. For some of you, this could literally be you starting, I'm just seeing, because I'm looking at March and April and I'm like, I wonder if there's some sort of new study coming in here as well. What I will say is, as for May, this could be a time where websites, anything to do with the digital sphere is really coming in for you. If you're planning to launch a website or to share something with the world in the digital sphere, like a blog or some sort of digital art, etc., you know, May could be a good time. Just remember, it is eclipse season. Now, you've got this with the Seven of Pentacles. For those of you that are planning to invest in crypto, for those of you that are planning to do all kinds of online financial transactions, etc., be very careful around the month of May. I don't see anything bad here, but I do feel like, so the Seven of Pentacles can be about investments, finances, money. It could also be, because it's on the Star card, it could be a realization of some sort, excuse me, or a group endeavor that comes together. A group endeavor that comes together that you're working on growing, and it's got like this really big impact in your life. Now, for those of you that have been working on a website or a community or something in the digital sphere that you've been working on for a long time, this could finally be the month where you see some sort of result, right? Let's say you've got a YouTube channel, you've been plugging away at it for, you know, months, maybe even a year, maybe even longer, and it's like you haven't really gained much traction. This could be the turning point, right? That could be really nice for you. For June, and kind of in line with the timeline as well, like I said, that first 6 months, it's not going to be a lot of reward. There's a lot of things showing up. There's a lot of things that you have to do stuff with, that you have to, you know, make happen and da-da-da-da. But there is a feeling here that it's kind of like it's not going to be until the second half of the year. You've got the Moon card, cycles, patterns, and the rose-tinted glasses, excuse me, coming off. Now, when the Page of Cups came up with the Hanged Man, I talked about Pisces season. The Page of Cups coupled with the Moon card is Pisces season. Pay attention to whatever's happening here in March, because the chances are it's going to be wrapping up, culminating, completing, or fully expressing here in June. And out of all of the life path readings that I've done, yours seems to have the most cycles within cycles taking place. So this is really interesting to me. On top of that, you've got the World card, right? So for some of you, this is reconnecting with a life path. So for some of you, this is reconnecting with a group, a community of some sort. Maybe for some of you, you're moving back to an old place that you used to live in. Maybe some of you are, maybe you were part of a community and you left it because you needed time out or you needed time away. And that happens, right? It's, maybe it's a group on Facebook. Maybe it's a group of people in, the real world that you meet up with. I will say it is likely to be an older or more mature group, and very likely to be made up of people who are really dedicated to their art, dedicated to their craft, whatever they might be. In a lot of ways, for some of you, this could be you picking something back up that you are choosing to rededicate yourself to. Maybe this is you deciding to get, really clued up on something, or what's the word? Knowledgeable, really. And I mean, you guys are anyway. You tend to be very intelligent. You tend to be very studious anyway. And knowledgeable in, certainly in the things that you're interested in. But this goes beyond that. There's this, thirst, need, desire, this burning drive to just make something happen, or to learn something. For July, you have the Wheel of Fortune, all right? So this is nice. You've got this next to the World card as well. And because you've got the Moon card here as well, I'm tempted to say that June and July could be months of travel for you. The travel that happens in June, though, it kind of feels like it's a bit more spontaneous, and it might be in response to something, whereas the travel that you're taking in July looks to be a bit more leisurable. You've got this with the Five of Swords, right? So I'm going to say this to you. When you come into July, just take stock of what's happening on the wider world before, this would be a time to think before you speak, right? This could be as well, because it's on the Wheel of Fortune and you've got that Moon card in close proximity. This could be an old argument, an old challenge, an old issue, some old dispute that comes up, and it might be something that you've completely forgotten about. Do you know what I mean? You might just be like, why are we even having this conversation right now? It's just so not relevant. Keep an eye out for that, because it could get a little bit dicey, all right? I mean, as quickly as it comes in is as quickly as it could pass, providing you allow it to pass, right? If you get back involved with it, or get back in or re-engage with it, it could kind of, really escalate. So just be careful. For August, you have the Empress. This is nice. So whatever ideas you have, whatever things you're trying to set into motion, this could be a time where not only are you seeing results, but it could also be a time where you're starting to get, when you get the inside track on something, where somebody's, sends you a message and says, oh, by the way, this is happening. And then you're like, okay, I can make some plans with this. I can do something with this. It comes up with the Strength card, right? So there is a thread running through July through August that I haven't mentioned, but I'm going to now. So in this deck, the Strength card is called the Crone. This is called the Green Witch Tarot by Anne Mora. I absolutely love it. There does appear to be a thread running through this. June through August appears to be a time where you're going to be interacting with people that are older than you, people that are wiser than you, and people that are more knowledgeable than you. There's something, and to say that to a Life Path 7 is quite a novel thing for me. Just because I know you guys, you all tend to be very old souls. So this tells me that June right the way through August is going to be a period of immense growth. This is going to be a time where you really start to get clued up on something, but it's like the learning that you're doing, yes, you're getting the inside track. Maybe for some of you, you're starting a process of initiation. Maybe for some of you, you're starting that whole the words that I'm hearing are journey to enlightenment, but it's not that. It's like, you know, when you join something as a novice, you become an apprentice, and then you go to the level of adept, and then you go to the level of master. There's something about these 3 months where you are experiencing an initiation of some sort, or you're at least starting down the process or the path of initiation. It can be a very powerful time for you, and a really big time of insight. So September, you have the strength card, with the Empress. This is information that comes to you. You may be tempted to sit on, all right? Now, this is one of those few times where I will say this. Sorry. August, whatever information finds you, it could be the thing that squashes this, right? So this is why I say to you, for the most part, don't engage in it. But there'll come a point where you might have some sort of information that enables you to cut something in the bud. Remember what I said to you about this? The perseverance, the setting boundaries, the knowing when to ... August, you're getting a second bout of that. And again, yours seems to be the only reading so far that's had, like, there've been nice ones that have woven together, but this one appears to have like cycles and patterns all kind of intersecting with each other. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's just crazy, in a good way. September, third and final Mercury retrograde of the year, out of the sign of Libra into the sign of Virgo. You have the Judgment card, right? So this is going to be a month of big changes, but also this will probably be where you really start to see the big rewards. Not only the big rewards from everything that you've been doing or working hard on, but more importantly, the big rewards from whatever is going on over the course of the 3 months that precede it. Very, very interesting. With that, you've got the Star card. That is a very long period of time, right? So September, whatever you are initiating out into the world, whatever you are working on, whatever you are doing, whatever you decide to really move ahead with, you are going to be doing this for a very long time to come. Pay attention to what comes up, to what you're working on, to what you really feel very drawn to where the universe seems to be prodding you or taking you, because September is likely to reveal to you something or someone that is going to be in or a part of your life for a very long time to come. The fact that you've got the Star card with the Judgment card, I'm going to say we're likely to see either a big power cut or outage at this time. I'm almost tempted to say as well that this could be a big time where I almost want to say, like, this could be a time where internet censorship reaches a high and people get really peeved about it. Just my 2 cents. All right, now October, we come back into eclipse season. First one, we've got the eclipse on the 25th of October in the sign of Scorpio. This is going to be a solar eclipse. I'm a lot more here for this one, I have to say. Like the earlier Scorpio eclipse, not so nice. This one on the 25th, it's probably going to have its moments, but I kind of like it a bit more. He says, of course, and you get the tower. I mean, you know, you've got this right next to the Star card. Expect big disruptions to the online world, to the online sphere, to the digital sphere. I won't rule out power cuts at this time. I won't rule out big secrets coming out. I won't rule out, I said power outages, cyber attack, especially with the Judgment card and the Star card in really close proximity. I would not rule it out with this kind of energy. Now, you got this with the Ace of Wands, right? So for you personally, because yours is one of the numbers of magic, I would say this could be a powerful point of manifestation for you. I don't usually encourage people to use specific days of eclipses for setting intentions. If you do your research and your preparation work, I would probably say this could be a time where you might get to use that, where you might get to really tap into something deep, something powerful, something primal, you know, and set something forward that really has a chance to manifest. This could also be a moment where you are maybe creating something that goes viral. Maybe you know, and I know a lot of you are probably thinking, well, if there's going to be an internet outage, how is that going to happen? You know, I doubt we're going to be cut off for that long. You know, it's my answer to those of you that are thinking that. But yeah, this could be a time where something that you do or put out into the world, especially online or in the digital sphere, could absolutely blow up. And quite unexpectedly, it might seem like something to you that's really run of the mill, but to everybody else, it's just received really well. Second eclipse, November 8th. Not as excited about this one, I have to say. Just for various reasons on a personal level as well. So you've got the Emperor, right? Now, don't be surprised if someone is pulling rank, someone on the wider world stage. This also might be a team, might be a time where you're having to really dig very deep on something, right? You're having to, I don't know why, but I get this sense that something of almost like of a legal nature, you're having to really dig deep, and you're having to, again, not only set a boundary, but you're having to really look at or experience the environment that you live in very, very differently. So this could be a time where you're saying, okay, you know what, maybe there's some considerations here that I haven't thought about previously. So the card that goes with the Emperor is the Page of Wands. So this is another time sequence. Whatever is happening for you in November is very likely to be not only a result of whatever's taken place in April, but also whatever happened around March as well. What I really want to say to you here though as well, pay attention in November, because whatever it is that's taking place, whatever it is that's showing up, whatever it is that you're experiencing, it's likely to go into 2023 right up to and including Aries season. All right, so this is going to be an interesting time for you. For some of you, this might also be a time where you're called to action for something. This might be, where you're getting a message. For some of you, this could be interactions with a boss as well. And I kind of get the feeling as well that for a select few of you, this might be a time where you're being made a boss, where you're being pushed into that. Do you know what I mean? Like you're being pushed into some sort of leadership or authority role that you didn't expect to be in. This could come very much by surprise, and it could come sort of, out of the blue. And then finally, you finish the year with the Death card, right? Endings, completions, culminations. Let's see what it comes up with the Three of Pentacles, right? So your learning is done. Your learning, being at school, is done. Your time where you're having to learn, having to take on new ideas, etc., the time where you're a student, that has passed. It kind of feels for me like you're finishing the year on the note of a master, right? That's the first thing that I want to say. The second thing, the Three of Pentacles with the Page of Wands and the Emperor and the Death card. I truly hope that I'm wrong on this front, but I do feel like this might be something that happens with or around a school. And I really hope I'm wrong on this front. I don't think it will be anything severe. It might just be a natural disaster that, it might be something, because we're going to see a lot of earth changes this year anyway. It might be something that happens on, with or around a school. Now, because we've got the Death card in December, I'm hoping that this is one of those, moments where it's like, the school was empty because it's the holidays, but it could have been, do you know what I mean? Like really dicey. I think, it kind of feels like that. So your Key to the Year card, you're not going to believe this. You're not going to believe this. That's just jumped out. The Gate 29, and look at the word perseverance. What did I talk about from the beginning? This whole year is very much going to be about this kind of energy for you guys. which is kind of amazing and insane and very powerful, really. The hummingbird on this, one of the things that I love about this is when you see the hummingbird energy, when you see it, they make it look so effortless, right? It just like zzz, 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 like it just looks like a body that floats, right, with the wings that are just practically invisible. That whole energy of making something look easy or having true finesse around something comes from perseverance, right? It's how we refine ourselves and our skills that really show. And in order to refine something to the point where it looks effortless and easily, where we demonstrate a level of skill with something, it comes through perseverance, it comes through patience, it comes through waiting, it comes through stillness. All right, so very, very interesting. Now, your challenging months of the year, I think January is going to be one of them, but it's because you're having to do something or set a boundary with somebody that you genuinely care about. March could be a challenging month for you. June and even July could also be. June, I think, will be challenging because it's more a case of like, what the hell? Like, do you know what I mean? Whereas July even, sorry, might be a case of like, what the hell? Another challenging month, well, look, I mean, October could be challenging, but for good reasons, if that makes sense. Your power months that I really like for you: April, I love. August, I love. I'm also actually a really big fan of September. I think those are going to be your power months out of the year. So with that said, I wish you an abundance of all of that good stuff. Let me know in the comments how it shapes up for you. Check in month by month. Keep me posted on how it shapes up for you. You know, what are your plans for 2022? I wish you an abundance of all of that good stuff. Have an amazing year ahead. I truly hope it's your best year yet. And even if it isn't, it looks like you're going to learn a lot, right? With that said, take care and I'll see you soon.